Baines.
I am.
And you must be Onedin. One of the chaps pointed you out. My name's Peters. Thought to take passage with you. You are bound for South Africa, I believe. Walvis Bay will do admirably.
This is no passenger boat.
But you do have accommodation.
Seem well informed.
I also have a recommendation from Sir Daniel Fogarty. He said you were a sharp fellow, Onedin.
You deal with this, Baines.
Not a very civil sort of a chap.
He has his reasons.
Mistress says she'll be down in a moment, milady. Thank you, Mrs. Gibson.
It's 10 days now since the funeral, and she hasn't been out of the house once.
Well, it's up to us to stop her from brooding. Isn't that why we're here?
Oh, what a tragedy. She and James so looking forward to a son, and within 2 days, that poor little mite...
Sarah, talk like that isn't going to help Letty. How are you, Letty? Sarah and I were just passing.
Oh, I'm quite well, thank you. Now, can I offer you some refreshments?
Oh, no, we won't stay long. I called really to ask if you and James would care to have dinner on Saturday.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Elizabeth, but, well, I'd rather not, if you don't mind.
Well, Sarah will be there with Samuel.
It'll be a family gathering.
Well, all the same, I'm sure you'd understand.
Well, wouldn't you rather talk it over with James first?
Well, I wish... Why do you wish I could?
Oh,
there.
Come and sit down. Sit down.
I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to control. It's just that James has hardly said a word.
Oh, brother of mine can be so heartless.
No. Oh, no, Elizabeth, he wants to. I know he does. Just that... What? He seems to have shut himself off. He's all bottled up inside.
Well, James was never one to show his feelings, even at the best of times.
I know he grieved deeply over Robert, but he kept all that
The
inside.
trouble is I've shut off too. He needs my help as much as I need his. It's just that...
Letty, the best thing for the pair of you is for you to get with child again.
Oh, Elizabeth, how
Oh,
could
no.
you?
Oh, no, I've quite made up my mind. No, I shall have no more children.
Those things are not in our
I
hands.
thought of going
Letty.
through that again when there's always the possibility.
It was a chance in 1,000.
No, Elizabeth, if you don't mind, I'd rather not talk about it.
Letty, with the best of medical attention...
Oh, for heaven's sake, Sarah, and I had the best of medical attention. Look, I'm sorry. I know that you both mean well. Is it, if you don't mind, I'd rather be left on my own.
I see. So you're just going to stay here, moping and feeling sorry for yourself, I
Oh,
suppose?
Sarah.
Well, she does have others to consider. I had to lay off 2 of my seamstresses yesterday.
What?
Without supervision, your women at the flock works are falling behind with my order. And for my girls, no flock means no work.
Sarah is right, Letty. Employers do have a duty to their work people.
Jobs are not easy to come by. I'd hate to think that I was the cause of some poor soul facing starvation.
But they've fallen behind, you say?
Unless something is done soon, I shall have to lay off more of my
Oh,
people.
no, Sarah, it can't be that bad.
You know what the saying is, when the cat's away, the mice.
Oh, well, I shall just have to go down and see what's happening at the flock works. You know, Mrs. McGahey promised me faithfully that she would keep an eye on those girls. Oh, well, I'll soon sort this nonsense out. Do you know, there's one thing Mrs. McGahey cannot do, it's work out figures. So girls are at least a week behind with the orders. There's a letter from Charlotte on the mantelpiece.
All right. I'll read it later.
Elizabeth and Sarah called today.
Oh.
Elizabeth asked us to dinner on Saturday.
What's she going to serve up? Sympathy?
James.
Oh, she's getting as bad as Sarah. Why can't they leave people alone?
I think you're being a bit unfair.
Oh, well, I don't feel like being fair to anyone at the moment.
Me included.
I'm going to go for a walk to the docks. See if the Osprey's ready to sail yet.
Maybe you ought to sail with...
Hmm?
Nothing.
Elizabeth, let's put James and Letty aside for a moment and talk about us. Now, I think you'll agree that we've been growing apart recently.
I wouldn't disagree with that, no.
Not because of our feelings, but because of our business interests.
One particular business interest.
The Liverpool and Manchester Ship Canal.
Yes.
That's something we can neither agree upon nor disregard. And as long as I remain a director of that company, then it'll be a bone of contention between us.
Well, there is an alternative.
Yes, as you have frequently pointed out. And there it is.
There what is?
My resignation.
Daniel. You've done this for me. Oh, I do love you.
Every bit of cargo stowed, and all I wait on is the tide.
And you should make a fast passage, shouldn't you?
And I can't wait to get away. If the truth is known, Liverpool don't mean much to me these days. Too much noise, too many people. When I'm at sea, somehow I feel I have time to think.
All right. What about?
Oh, sometimes nothing at all. I don't know, it's all as clear as my head. You know, well, I'm no good with words.
No, I know what you mean. Some things just can't be put into words.
That's true. You know, I enjoy that run down to the Cape. Plenty of sun, flying fish for breakfast.
You're all right. You left me wanting to come with you. I imagine that was your intention.
Hey? What do I want you along with me for? I was planning to enjoy myself.
What are you thinking of getting up to, Baines?
Oh, nothing. Just that. Couple of months relaxing in the sun, doing nothing, thinking nothing is just what I need. I'd hardly get that with you along now, would I?
Taking to speaking your mind quite a bit recently, haven't you, Baines?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? After all, you do it enough.
Well, let me tell you this. If I want to come on this voyage, I will. I want the Osprey to have a quick turnaround.
And so she will.
You lying around in the sun, stuffing your belly full of flying fish.
Now, look, I can work this ship just as hard as you can.
You sailing in the afternoon?
Aye.
I'll bid you good night, then.
Good night, sir.
Daniel, now that you've resigned from the canal company, no doubt the yard will be seeing more of you.
Well, not exactly.
Daniel?
Well, you know I've been asked to represent a Manchester ward.
Well, yes, but there won't be a general election for years yet.
Ah. I'm afraid Sir Joshua Thackeray died last week. There's to be a by-election in Manchester.
A by-election. Oh, I see. So that's the reason for your concern. Not me, but the damned canal. With a bill to go through Parliament, you could hardly have remained a director of the board and still represented Manchester. And there was I thinking your decision to resign was for my sake.
But it was. This way we both win.
I think you'll make a very good politician.
Oh, Elizabeth, do we always have to fight?
I'm not fighting. I'm giving in for once. Gracefully.
And you don't mind?
Of course I mind. You should be representing Liverpool. But I suppose you have to start somewhere.
Elizabeth, I promise you, whatever...
Daniel, don't start talking like a politician. What a bedtime.
It's past. No good can come of brooding on what might have been if we were meant to have...
Meant? If I thought like that, I'd still be a penniless sailor.
All I'm saying is that we've got to pick up the pieces.
Oh, I pretend it never happened, I know.
James, I lost a son as well. Look, why don't you take yourself off to sea?
What?
I'm trying to forget, but you won't let go. The way we're both feeling, we're no help to one another at all.
Do you really mean it?
I think it would be best for both of us. Yes.
You sailing with us, sir?
I want to make sure you make a fast passage.
A breath of sea air do you the world of good, sir.
I'm not an invalid, you know. Come on, let's make way.
All aboard. Ready when you are, Captain.
I paid Charlotte a visit yesterday.
Well, at Aunt Mary's? Well, that was very kind of you. I'm sure she was most appreciative.
I sometimes think that Samuel is the most thoughtful member of this family, not like that scapegrace woman.
How was she, Samuel?
Oh, I found her in quite good health, Aunt Letty, but...
Samuel,
this-
dear, it was a kind thought, and I appreciate that you were motivated by the highest principles. But you must understand that in this wicked world, cruel tongues do wag, and we don't want the finger of suspicion pointing in the wrong direction, do we?
I proposed.
You what?
I asked Charlotte if she would consent to be my wife.
Samuel, how could you?
Well, it was a very gallant gesture, Samuel, but well, you do have your own future to think of.
I absolutely forbid it.
I'm sorry, Mother, but I must remind you that I'm of age. It's only Charlotte that requires permission. That's why I wanted to speak to you, Aunt Letty.
Oh, no. No, Samuel. With your Uncle James away, I couldn't possibly take on that kind of responsibility.
We can hardly wait upon his return. I'm afraid the decision rests with you alone, Aunt Letty.
Well, then, in all conscience, I must say no.
Good, then that settles that matter. Really, Samuel, I can't imagine what your poor father would have said.
Oh, it was my impression that he was quite in favor of the match.
Under totally different circumstances.
So for my part, those circumstances have never changed. I still love her.
But, Samuel, does she love you?
No, that
believe
girl wears
so.
her heart on her
I
shoulder.
take it that she consented.
Oh, she was quite nonplussed at first, but... oh, yes, she did. And then she burst into tears. Promised that she'd make me a
Promise?
good
Well,
wife.
of course she'd promise. She'd promise anything.
Did she actually say that she returned your love?
No, not in so many words. Now, Aunt Letty, I think we should consider what's best for Charlotte.
Samuel. Now, such a marriage would be a sure recipe for disaster. I cannot possibly agree. Look, believe me, I do have Charlotte's welfare at heart.
Oh, yes. I came prepared for a refusal. You may recollect that in similar circumstances, Aunt Elizabeth also eloped.
Elope? Samuel, you wouldn't.
Oh, yes, indeed I would, Mother. I'm very sorry, Aunt Letty, but Charlotte and I are determined to marry, with or without your approval. We thought just a quiet wedding, one or two close relatives. And that way one more skeleton can be safely locked away in the family closet.
Well, I don't know what James is going to say.
About 220 miles, I make it. If the wind holds fair, we should sight Conte DeMarco at about 4 bells in the forenoon watch.
I'll have a hand at the masthead. We don't want to miss it when we're running down the Skeleton Coast.
The Hottentots call it the land of desolation. It's 800 miles long, 90 miles wide. Salt pans, shifting sand dunes, burning desert. No life. Only the bones of men and ships.
Thank you for the geography lesson, but we have sailed this bit of coast before.
I should hate to pass without catching sight of a place with such an evil reputation. Put it down to morbid curiosity.
Well, I think we might be able to oblige you, don't you, Baines?
I'll give it an offshore wind. I don't want to run foul of a lee shore.
There will be one. It's called the Soupois. The wind that cries. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
He's an odd fish, a passenger, isn't he?
For a man who claims he's just curious, he's uncommonly well informed. The pole. Is that what you're seeking, Mr. Peterson?
Yes. Curious, isn't it?
Well, it's been there a good many years. A few reliable landmarks on the chart. Tell me, if, as you say, nobody can survive ashore, who put it there?
This coastline keeps its secrets to itself, Mr. Onedin. I have a proposition to put to you.
Oh, I thought you might.
Oh?
Shall we go below?
Agree, and you can keep these as an earnest of good faith. Come ashore with me, Mr. Onedin, and you can stuff your pockets with diamonds the size of pigeons' eggs.
Diamonds. So that's your mysterious business enterprise, eh?
This coastline is littered with diamonds.
Also, no doubt, littered with the bones of those looking for them.
For centuries, nature has locked the door, but I hold the key. This is the original chart. Masked entrance, winding channel, soundings, bearings from the tall post.
Where did you get this?
Portuguese West Africa from an old prospector.
Another treasure map. The world's covered in them, you know. Showing the way to Morgan's treasure, to Montezuma's halls of gold, from King Solomon's mines to Aladdin's cave. You know, the only people to make a fortune out of that are the people that sell that rubbish to gullible crackpots with an urge to get rich quicker.
This is a very old chart.
Ah, it's too old. This coast is on the move the whole time. The sea's receding. That anchorage will have silted up ages ago.
It was still there last year.
Last year?
3 of us, myself, my companion, and a Portuguese, pooled our resources and bought a small fishing boat. It was no bigger than a cutter, leaked like a sieve and waddled like a pig. None of us had ever put to sea before, so we simply crept down the coast until we found the entrance. It is still there, I do assure you.
You sailed 200 miles in a leaky old boat, but with no knowledge of navigation. Well, you must have had the devil's own luck.
Once we landed, our luck ran out.
What happened then?
Come ashore with me, Mr. Onedin, and I will show you. Onedin, the Osprey, she's leaving us.
I don't want her near the reef. I told Mr. Lowry to give her plenty of sea rum.
Onedin, you haven't brought any supplies.
We've got water, biscuits. Damn it, man, we're only here 3 hours.
Well, it may take a little longer.
No?
We agreed on 3 hours. 3 hours it will be.
That's long enough for any man in this heat.
Right, let's not waste time. Here's the compass. Which way?
No need for a compass. She's very well signposted.
I think he's mad.
If he's not, there are diamonds about. I'm going to buy myself a 4-masted clipper. Hey, look at that. Skeleton Coast. I reckon it was well named.
How much further?
Almost there! Come on! Come on!
This looks like a ship's topmast.
That's exactly what it is.
But out here...
This was once the sea.
Now look, you promised us bucketfuls of diamonds. And all I've seen so far is sand and bones.
You're standing on more treasure than you've ever dreamed of. Underneath this sand dune is a Spanish galleon loaded with gold plate and bullion.
Galleon. So this is the end of your wild goose chase.
Onedin, I have seen it. Chests of gold, diamonds, emeralds, rubies.
And all we have to do is to shift this mountain of sand.
I tell you, my partners and I found it.
Partners? What's happened to them?
They are still here. We were tunneling when the whole structure collapsed.
Like as not, the same would happen to us.
Wind's beginning to shift.
We're in for a blow. We'd best get back.
No, wait! You don't understand. Look, let me show you. me here.
What should?
Dig! 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 When it came through inside, I was outside dragging the chests through. I was lucky. Didn't I tell you? Pure gold!
Mr. Onedin! It's true! It's true!
Sandstorm coming up. Come on, let's take
There
shelter.
should be 2 more chests.
Come on, into the dunes. We'll take shelter.
No, I gotta find those chests.
Come on.
Charlotte and Samuel married. I can't credit it.
Well, it still is the voice of scandal. But it doesn't alter the fact that you haven't come out of this very well, young man.
Well, when did the ceremony take place?
Yesterday, it was a very quiet affair, just family.
Oh, you both attended and never told me.
You could hardly expect an invitation.
Well, I didn't mean...
Samuel has forbidden you the house. And I doubt your Uncle James will ever forgive you. And I can't say that I blame him.
Well, now, don't be too hard on the boy, Daniel. After all, it wasn't exactly a one-sided affair, was it?
Well, when your Uncle James returns, you make your peace with him if you can. Otherwise, you'll make a point of running the Fraser line off the seas.
If he tries, he may find he's spitting off more than he can chew. I'm contemplating selling out.
What?
Sell the Fraser line? You can't be serious.
I've had a very fair offer.
From whom?
A syndicate. Mr. Beaumont.
Oh, Beaumont. I might have known that scoundrel would be at the bottom of it.
I know he blighted your political aspirations, Father, but I would ask you to remember that he's been a good friend to me.
Oh, William, will you never learn?
And what part does your good friend Beaumont play in this syndicate?
He doesn't. He acts simply in an advisory capacity. He has no financial interest whatsoever.
A syndicate. Your grandfather created that company, and I spent 10 years of my life fighting to keep it afloat. And yet you have the gall to tell me you're prepared to sell it off to a bunch of anonymous money bags in the city.
Yes, William, exactly who are these gentlemen? I know of most of these men.
Mr. Beaumont assures me they are of the highest probity.
They are.
The Fraser line will be sold as a going concern, the name continuing. I shall have that written into the contract.
Which won't be worth the paper it's written on if I have the measure of your friend Beaumont.
I am not entirely a fool, Father.
No one is a fool until he meets his match.
You haven't committed yourself.
No, but they are awaiting a decision.
And how much have they offered?
300,000.
Only 300,000? You must be mad even to consider such a meagre offer.
Plus shares. Plus a directorship.
Shares and a directorship.
There has to be a catch in it somewhere. There has to be.
Right. Let's find Peterson. Get out of this hellhole.
Dead.
Dead man's gold. I want none of it.
A mast!
Eh?
The osprey! She was using it to take bearings.
must have found it on the reef.
Could have been blown out to sea. Anyway, we're not likely to see her again. We'll not survive a day out there.
Aye. And if my time has come, I'd rather it was the sea.
Hey, Will! Look! Hey! We're not done for yet! She's sound. Oh, she's not stove in.
There's no sign of the oars.
Well, there's flotsam. We'll make paddles.
What do you reckon? Head up the coast?
No. No, we'll make for the shipping lanes.
That's about 150 miles out.
Well, the nearest settlement's about 250 miles away.
That's true. All right, we'll head west then.
Oh, Charlotte, would you care for some coffee?
Oh, no, thank you.
Is there anything else I can get you?
No.
Any news of Uncle James?
Not a word. Then he never was the most industrious of correspondents. I did write and give him the news, of course.
Perhaps that is why he's not deigned to reply. Words for once have failed him.
Now, your father always had the highest regard for Samuel. I'm sure he'd be delighted by the news.
But not delighted enough to find his way to a telegraph office.
Oh, perhaps he simply hasn't had the opportunity. Or he may not yet have received Aunt Lettie's correspondence.
Well, he should have. I sent it care of our agents in Lisbon. He should have called there weeks ago.
Well, then why hasn't he replied?
Sure, there must be a simple explanation.
Let's take a rest.
We still heading west?
Aye.
How many miles do you reckon we've covered?
6 days. 15 miles a day.
Not yet.
Only the current might have helped.
Fix this up.
Not at the moment.
What have you got there?
Pebbles. I picked up a couple on the beach. You put it in your mouth. It'll keep it moist. Here, here's one for you. You know, I reckon we should have buried him.
Peterson. Reckon the sand'll do that for us, son.
His gold fever really killed him.
Come on. Let's go.
Ma'am,
What is it, Mrs. McGahey?
I hope you don't mind me coming up to the house, ma'am.
No.
What do you make of this?
Well, it's very good quality, very good indeed.
Not often we get the like of that at the Flockworks. Only it came from Albert Burrows.
Well, who's he?
A clerk. Worked for the council. Lived in my street. Him, his wife, and 6 young uns. Well, 2 months ago, they moved to Parkside.
Well?
Well, on the wages he got, we wondered how he could afford a house in that district. He died last week. And now I'm wondering how he could afford a jacket like this.
Well, I've really no idea, Mrs. Mackay. Does it really matter?
A while back, you were asking around about a company called Portside Holdings.
Now, how do you know about that?
Some of the girls have got big ears. Anyway, you take a look at this. I found it in his pocket.
Well, what do you make of it, Samuel?
Well, it seems that Portside Holdings are intent on acquiring all this waterfront property.
And Portside Holdings belongs to Mr. Beaumont.
Aye.
But look, my property's marked, and, well, I've already turned down the offer they made me.
Are your buildings freehold?
No, leasehold, but it's a very long lease. Oh, I wish James were here. He would know what to do.
Letty?
Yes. Oh.
It's all right, my dear.
Mrs. Gibson?
You'll have to be a very brave girl now. Now, I'm going to fetch the doctor.
Good lad.
Oh. I'm rather glad Father isn't here at the moment, Letty.
What? I must have dozed off. My paddle's gone. Just slipped out of my hand.
The current might carry us along.
12 days. Must come across a ship soon. Been through a lot together. You, me.
Aye. More than 20 years.
Except when you left me for 2 years.
You deserve that.
A lot of things will. I still could have made my peace with Letty, though.
Fine woman. I should have told her how sorry I was about your son. But in times like that, words don't come easy.
Oh, no. I know.
A boy. Oh, Letty, that is good news. How much did he weigh?
5.5 pounds.
And is Charlotte well?
Oh, yes, quite well, yes.
I won't make any mention of this to William.
No. And Samuel has decided not to announce the birth in any of the newspapers.
Very wise.
Elizabeth.
Letty, that map you gave to Daniel, he has promised to look into the matter for you, but I've seen so little of him the last few days. He's been so busy on the hustings at Manchester.
Oh, yes, the by-election. Will he win, do you think?
Well, of course. They all adore him and call him the saviour of Manchester. But I did remind him of his promise to you when he said the matter was all in hand.
What's that supposed to mean?
Probably that he just remembered. Anyway, he's asked William to arrange a meeting with Beaumont, so no doubt I shall know more before then.
Well, if James were here, I wouldn't have to bother Daniel with this matter.
Have you still not heard from him?
No.
I look at the list every day, but there's no mention of the Osprey, so at least it isn't bad news. Oh, look, Letty, maybe they've put into some remote place for repairs, or maybe they're simply becalmed.
Or maybe he's still so unhappy that he can't bring himself to write to me or anyone. Oh, Elizabeth, I should have helped him moreover. It's just that I was so lost in my own sorrow. Oh, he did so want a son.
Well. Well. Well.
He ain't gone yet. When I do, that'll be the last of the beans.
But nobody to follow me either.
It don't matter. Not really matter.
Just to me.
I've decided I shall sell to Mr. Beaumont's principals.
William, if you sell the Fraser line to his friends, I guarantee that within 6 months the company will be broken up piecemeal and the ship sold off. And you will find yourself the director of a bankrupt company whose shares are worthless.
I don't believe that.
I'm well aware that there is little love lost between us, Sir Daniel, but I never imagined that you would descend to falsehood.
Are you calling me a liar?
But do you have proof?
Yes, I do.
And you had best believe it, William.
Beaumont paid £500 to a clerk named Burrows to obtain secret information for him regarding the future plans of both the council and the harbour board. Now, by acquiring waterfront properties under the name Portside Holdings, he intends reselling it to either the council or the harbour board at a vastly increased price.
William, this has nothing to do with the sale of the Fraser line, and
It
I
has
suggest...
everything to do with the Fraser line, Mr. Beaumont. Daniel, show William the map.
Now, you will see that among the properties Portside Holdings plan to acquire are the Fraser line offices and quay.
Josiah, that map does not, nor never has, belonged to me.
Albert Burrows was a very meticulous clerk.
It proves nothing.
Then perhaps this will. A letter Beaumont sent to Sir Frederick, confirming that after the syndicate had purchased the Fraser line, they would let him have all the land and waterside properties for £50,000.
How much would your directorship have been worth then, William?
A forgery. This is a forgery.
Is it?
William, you surely don't believe him. Well, I'm your friend. We trust one another.
You told me never to mix business and friendship, Josiah.
Don't you see? He's only intent on ruining me.
I don't give a damn what happens to you, Beaumont. But I do care about my son.
If you're still intent on selling, William, your father and I will buy the company at the agreed offer, $300,000. You may have a directorship, but the company will be under my management.
I'll make it $325,000.
You said the syndicate wouldn't go any higher.
You're feeling desperate, Beaumont.
I'll pay the balance myself as an earnest of good faith.
I shall sell to neither of you.
William, don't be so foolish. You have the chance to be your own man. You don't have to be tied to your mother's apron strings anymore. Well, think of all the help I've given you. How long do you imagine you would have survived without my guidance?
I don't know, Josiah. But I intend to find out.
Admit it, Beaumont. You've lost.
The day, perhaps. But not the battle. You best enjoy this moment, Sir Daniel. Lady Fogarty. For as long as I live, I shall make it my business to ruin you.
And I thought him to be my friend.
It was a hard lesson, William, but one that had to be learned. Now, you need time to consider the future. Your father and I have a suggestion, and it's one that you will accept. In view of both business and family interests, you will take a long holiday. You will go abroad for at least a year, and in your absence, I will run Fraser's.
When you return, old wounds should have healed.
Do I have any option?
No. Not unless you intend cutting yourself off from your father and I, forever.
Why, you haven't touched your food. It'll be stone cold. Ma'am? Mum, what is it?
It's the Osprey. She's finally been reported as missing.
Letty, I know you don't want to talk about it, but sometimes it's better to face the facts.
Did I do enough to save our child? It's a question I keep on asking myself.
Letty.
Oh, we had the best doctors I know, and they explained in great detail to me about the heart. But should I have taken him to London?
Letty. James has been missing for over 3 months.
And he'll be home very soon. I know he will.
You must face facts.
We can't believe it any more than you can, but the Osprey has been officially posted missing and there's not been a word.
I know it's hard to accept.
And I won't accept it. James is alive. I know it. I feel it.
I wish I could feel it too. Look, Mr. Tupman needs instructions concerning the Onedin line. Now, Letty, all I'm trying to say is that if at the moment
You look as though you've seen a ghost.
James. Oh, how dare you put us through all this torture? Why didn't you let us know you were safe?
Couldn't. Our steamer picked us up. Even then, it took 6 weeks. Betty.
Oh, James, so much has happened since you've gone. I don't know where to begin.
Well, then don't bother.
Well, to start
Sarah.
with, you see... Yes?
Go home. Both of you.
Lucky pebble, and we was almost done for. And when that steamship picked us up, it was clenched so tightly in my mouth they had to dig it out to pour water down my gullet.
Diamond, how beautiful.
Aye, we must have been standing on a bed of them, and I picked up 2 and gave 1 to Mr. Onedin.
Yeah, needless to say, mine wasn't a diamond.
I thought it was a pebble, and I hung on to it as a keepsake. But homeward bound, it dropped on the deck and a bit chipped off, and suddenly there was a diamond.
Oh, it must be very valuable.
Aye, it is. It saved my life, and I wouldn't part with it for all the gold in the world.
So, Daniel, now you're a member of Parliament.
Aye, and with a healthy majority.
Ah, yeah, up. Give you a couple of years and you'll be the House of Lords. Here, you'll be a Duchess yet, you know, Elizabeth.
One step at a time, James. One step at a time.
Charlotte will be down in a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Captain Baines, very good of you to attend.
Well, I've done a lot of things in my life, but never a godfather.
Samuel, a word in your ear. A bit late in the day, I know. This is Charlotte's dowry.
Oh, that's most generous. Thank you. Oh, £15.
Well, not exactly. Them's 15 original Onedin shares I bought them back from your father. That represents a 15% interest.
Well, 15% of the Onedin line? Oh, no, I couldn't.
Go on. Well, I'm in a generous mood. Anyway, something's more important than money.
Oh, thank you. I really am most grateful, Uncle. Father-in-law.
Let's say uncle for now, until I get my bearings.
Mother?
Yes, my dear.
You know, it does my heart good to see you and Mr. Onedin so happy together. You know, I always remember what he told me when we were in that boat together, and he suddenly I've forgotten. Oh, look, here comes the
Hello, little Robert.
Lovely. Robert, what a well-chosen name.
Oh, you'll like the second one even better. Robert Baines, Onedin.
We had thought of Robert James,
Oh,
but...
heavens, one James in the family is more than enough.
Oh, come on, everybody. It's time we were off to church.
Aye.
Come on, James.
Daniel.
Aye, aye.
Nay, lass. Let the past bury the past.
James, we're waiting.
Aye, we're coming. Come on then, lad.